Hey everyone, Chakras from Walking here. Following last week's video about some unusual picks, today we decided to look at some more champions and explain why they are picked in competitive. Let's start with Varus. The era of Retribution showed up out of nowhere, and currently he's considered to be a top tier AD carry and one of the most contested champions in his role, alongside Ashe and Jhin. If you have been following competitive, you will know that Varus was primarily played in the mid lane in the past 2 seasons. Power of Evil debuted the pick with a caster-centric build. However, the pick has finally returned to his intended primary role, the bot lane. The 6.24 buffs to his passive finally allowed him to build a more traditional AD carry build. In short, making his passive skill with bonus attack speed made attack speed oriented builds much more attractive. Now, given the high item dependency and low impact in the early stages of matches for AD carries, having utility in their kits is an extremely good trait to have, especially in pro play. Varus brings unmatched wave clear in his class and hard crowd control via his ultimate, so even if he's behind or not dishing out much damage, he can still set up his teammates for success. Right now, Varus is probably the most versatile pick in terms of builds. Currently, we're consistently seeing 3 different builds from him. The Essence Reaver build has a heavy crit focus, high amounts of CDR are also key to allow him to have Chain of Corruption up frequently so he can set up crowd control for his team to follow up on. Another build that has appeared recently is the one with Blade of the Rain King. This build has no cooldown reduction in it, but this attack speed based build is stronger when facing tanks, as the percentage current health damage from Blade will do a lot of work. Finally, a lot of Varus players have been defaulting to go to the caster build with lethality items. This build isn't as strong in the early stages as it was before, but with the changes to lethality on patch 7.2, it's likely we will see more of it in the future. If the threat level is too high to be in auto range, this build is better as it allows Varus to stay in the outskirts of a fight and just poke with Piercing Arrow from range. If you want to learn more about Varus, check the article in the description. Up in the top lane, Kennen is a champion that has been consistently picked in competitive for a while, but recently his build has been very different from what we traditionally see and the AP-centric build we saw players use at Worlds. So currently, Kennen is building an attack speed oriented build. But why? The most recent nerfs to the Yordle have really limited his ability to burst down targets with Slicing Maelstrom. Even though the skill's total damage is now slightly higher, it's much more shifted towards the final part of the cast, meaning opponents have more time to react to the ultimate and get out of his damage zone. With that said, Kennen still maintains the attractive traits that he had beforehand. He has strong matchups into all of these tanks as he's ranged and is an energy-based champion, so he can constantly trade without having to worry about something like mana. The build he's going for currently is heavily on-hit oriented, and the idea behind it is very simple: to split push and duel with tanks. You will rarely see Kennen teamfight with this build. Instead, he's going to consistently be in a side lane, taking turrets and forcing the response from the enemy team. If unattended, he can definitely take over games. Finally, there's Taliyah. The Stoneweaver was nerfed on 6.18 and we didn't see her at Worlds at all, but buffs to Threaded Volley in 2 different patches helped her see play again. However, there was another change that helped her gain a lot of pressure with wave clear that many did not notice. On patch 6.22, there were changes to melee and ranged minions. The reduction of health growth over time for ranged minions allowed certain champions to more effectively clear them from earlier stages into the game. Another good example of this is Ahri, who can now easily clear ranged minions with 1 Q and doesn't need to auto each creep once to finally kill them. This might not sound that significant, but in pro play, wave control and having strong pushing power means a lot in the mid lane. Being able to shove allows a mid laner to start roaming and putting pressure in the side lanes. Given Taliyah's kit, this is essential as she can easily get out of lane and roam to set up a dive with Weaver's Wall. That's going to be it for today. Let me know if you enjoyed it by leaving a like in the video, as it helps us a lot. See you next week.